Raya and Sakina, a narrative of crime in colonial Alexandria. Chapter 1, Al-Laban District, a kingdom of shadows. In the heart of Alexandria, Egypt's second capital, where the salty smell of the sea, mixed with the odors of rotten fish and the sounds of street vendors, the Al-Laban District represented a world of its own. Among the narrow, intertwined alleyways like spiderwebs and the crumbling adjacent houses lived Raya Ibrahim, 45 years old, and her sister, Sakina, 42 years old. Raya, the older sister, possessed a frighteningly sharp intelligence and piercing eyes that hid behind them boundless ambition. Sakina, with her strong, full-bodied frame and powerful arms, followed her sister in blind silence, like a tool in its master's hand. Life in the district was harsh, and the poor there lived hand to mouth. The two sisters worked selling vegetables and fish, but their income was barely enough. From her humble shack, Raya watched her neighbors, widows, spinsters, and maids, who lived on the margins of society with no protector or guardian. In her twisted mind, she didn't see them as human beings, but as loose opportunities. One night, as Sakina was closing the wooden shutters of the house, Raya turned to her and said in a quiet but decisive voice, "Enough poverty and a life of humiliation. I found the way that will make us among the respectable women of the neighborhood." Sakina looked at her sister with ignorant innocence. "How do you mean, Raya?" Raya pointed her thin finger out the window. "Look at them all. Who in the whole world would notice if they disappeared? Who would search for a maid or a poor woman? They are God's provision for us." Sakina didn't fully understand, but Raya's blind confidence gave her a strange sense of certainty. The devilish plan began to take shape. Lure, then kill, then steal, and finally dispose of the bodies. It was the first step in building their empire of blood and bones. Chapter 2, the foundational victim, Fatima the widow. Fatima was a gaunt widow left with nothing from her husband but a few worn pieces of jewelry and a memory full of illnesses. She heard about Raya and Sakina and their expertise in selling used goods, so she bundled her jewelry in a handkerchief and knocked on their door one cold winter evening. "I heard you know about business. I want to sell these so I can live," Fatima said in a trembling voice. Raya smiled a wide, fake smile. "Welcome, our neighbor. Come inside. It's very cold out." Inside the house, Sakina offered a cup of tea. While Fatima examined the jewelry, Raya's eyes sized her up like a leopard staring at its prey. "These are lovely, Fatima. I have a great market for them. But the merchant I know is traveling. He'll be back tomorrow. Why don't you sleep here tonight? We have a room, and it would be a pleasure for us," Raya said in a falsely affectionate tone. Fatima felt grateful for this unexpected kindness. She agreed. In the middle of the night, while she was asleep on a mat on the floor, Sakina crept into the room carrying the heavy butt of an axe. Raya gave the signal. With one deafening blow to Fatima's head, Sakina struck her down. The victim made only a choked gasp before passing away. "Drag her inside the room quickly. We have to clean up before dawn," Raya whispered. The two sisters worked with a terrifying, mechanical speed. Sakina, with her excessive strength, cut the body into pieces using a large butcher's knife. The sounds of tearing tissue and grinding small bones filled the room in the silence of the night. Then, they packed the pieces into cloth sacks. Under the cover of darkness, they went out to the nearby beach and threw the sacks into the dark waters. At dawn, they returned to their house, having erased every trace. The first crime had been completed successfully. Chapter 3, Zara, the ambitious maid. The second crime. Zara, a pseudonym, was in her late 20s, a maid working for a wealthy but cruel Turkish family. She saved every penny to gather enough money to open a small shop that would free her from her miserable life. She heard about the two kind ladies in Al-Laban district who helped women sell their belongings. She went to them on an autumn evening, carrying a set of light gold jewelry that she hid under her headscarf. "Come, my dear, come in. You're like moonlight on a dark night." Raya welcomed her in an overly sweet tone. Inside the house, Zara sat down and felt warmth for the first time in months. Sakina offered her a cup of strong tea. Zara told them her dream of freedom. Raya listened while eyeing the jewelry greedily. "Of course, my dear, I have the perfect merchant for you. He's an old friend who loves to help girls like you. But he's traveling today. He'll be back tomorrow morning. You don't mind sleeping here tonight? We have an empty room, and we'd really enjoy your company." Zara agreed, grateful for the opportunity. Sakina prepared a bed for her in the back room, the same room under which the secret burial pit was dug, and sprinkled a strong sedative powder into her second cup of tea. Zara fell into a deep sleep. In the middle of the night, Sakina entered the room with the axe butt in her hand. At a signal from Raya, she ended the girl's life with a decisive blow to the head. She stole the gold jewelry, then began dismembering the body. Then they moved the pieces to the secret cellar they had begun to dig under the floor of the house, placing a layer of quicklime over them to speed up decomposition and hide the smell. At dawn, nothing remained of Zara but her memories and her dream, buried underground. Chapter 4. Sheikha Zainab and the Treasure of Illusion, the third crime. Sheikha Zainab was a woman in her 60s, with poor eyesight, who had come from Upper Egypt to Alexandria seeking treatment. She carried all her life savings in a money belt under her clothes. When she discovered the exorbitant cost of treatment, despair crushed her. In a popular cafe, she met the two sisters. Raya listened to her story and then grabbed her weary hand. "Madam, fate brought you to us. I will not only help you treat your eyes, I will make you rich." Raya claimed she had inherited a map to a buried Ottoman treasure, but needed a person with spiritual insight like Sheikha Zainab to help her pinpoint the location. The trick worked on the elderly woman. She agreed to stay with them. That night, Sakina offered the Sheikha a cup of hot milk mixed with a sedative, but the dose wasn't enough. When Sakina entered the room and struck her, the Sheikha woke up to a horrific pain and let out a choked scream. "Shut her up! Shut her up!" Raya screamed as she rushed in. The scream ignited Sakina's beastly instinct. She struck her repeatedly with brutality until she fell silent forever. The crime was messy. Blood splattered on the wall. "Look what you did. You should have been careful." Raya scolded her sister as she hurried to clean the wall. Raya discovered the hidden money belt. The amount was meager. She said with contempt, "All this for that? She could have given it to us and saved her life." Sheikha Zainab's remains were thrown into the cellar and her shabby clothes were sold. Her treasure was her life, and the price of her treatment was her brutal death. Chapter 5. The Web of Death. Expands and warnings are ignored. As the crimes piled up, their methods of luring victims diversified, sometimes with promises of a fake marriage to a wealthy man, other times with job opportunities or help selling belongings. Raya was the mastermind. She chose the victim, studied her circumstances, and spun the threads of trust. Sakina was the executing arm. Strong, silent, obedient. But the repeated disappearances of women began to attract attention. Hamida, a young maid who frequented the house, suddenly vanished. Neighbors like Hussein, the worker in the district cafe, noticed that she had entered the sister's house and never come out. He went to the police. "Sir, I'm sure. The young woman went in there 3 days ago and I haven't seen her come out." The police officers didn't take the matter seriously. "Maids are always coming and going, Hussein. What's your problem?" Police officers visited the house. Raya received them with confidence and cold nerves. "Hamida?" "Yes, she was here. Maybe she went back to the village. We help every woman in need." During the superficial inspection, a young officer noticed that Raya avoided standing in the corner of the back room and tried to divert attention away from it. But his supervisor paid no attention to the observation. The investigation was closed. Chapter 6. A fatal mistake and the disappearance of Saida. After years of getting away with it, they made a fatal mistake. In November 1920, they lured Saida, a fish seller well known in the neighborhood and who was married. Saida was smarter and more cautious than her predecessors. Upon entering the house, she immediately noticed a foul, rotten smell emanating from under the floor. "What's with this smell? It's overwhelming," Saida said. "Sewage water. We have a problem with the drains," Raya answered quickly. But Saida's suspicions were stronger. Before eating or drinking anything, she said, "I'm going to tell Hussein's wife that I'm here. I promised her some salt. I'll be back in minutes." Raya protested, trying to convince her to stay, but Saida insisted on leaving. She didn't go to the neighbor's house. Instead, she rushed to her husband and told him about her deep suspicions. "Something's not right there, Mohammed. The smell is bad, and those people are crazy." Her husband and relatives gathered some men and headed to the sister's house. They confronted the door and threatened to break it down. Sakina opened the door, shouting, "What is this commotion? What's wrong with you people?" The men forced their way in and began searching. Raya tried to stop and distract them, but one of them, Saida's cousin, noticed that the floorboards in the back room were uneven and loose. "Open this up," he shouted. When they lifted the wooden planks, a foul, putrid smell erupted, pushing everyone back. In the faint light, they saw the horrifying scene. Dozens of decomposed bodies, dismembered, piled in shallow pits, mixed with dirt and lime. It was an unforgettable scene of horror. Chapter 7. The arrest and the trial that shook Egypt. Raya and Sakina were arrested immediately. During the investigation, they confessed to committing at least 17 murders, though the actual number was likely higher. The investigations revealed horrifying details. Method of murder: striking the head with the butt of an axe or a heavy hammer. Dismemberment: using large knives and axes to break down the bodies for easier disposal. Disposal: burial in the secret cellar under the house, or throwing the sacks into the sea. Looting: stealing everything the victim owned, money, jewelry, and clothes. In court, their personalities were clear. Raya was calm, confident, speaking coldly about the crimes as if she were discussing ordinary business. "I was the one who brought them, and my sister was the one who killed them. We took their money and jewelry. No one was going to miss them." Sakina, however, was confused, frightened, confessing to everything while being directed by her sister's signals. The evidence was overwhelming: the victim's possessions, neighbors' testimonies, and most importantly, the house's graveyard. In the end, they were sentenced to death by hanging. Chapter 8. The gallows and the end. On the morning of December 27, 1921, thousands of people lined up outside Alexandria's prison. It was the day of execution. Before the execution, Raya asked to wear her best clothes and walked to the gallows with her head held high, defying everyone with a steady gaze. Meanwhile, Sakina was crying and staggering. The guards had to drag her as she resisted. As the traps fell from under their feet, the lives of Egypt's most bloody serial killers ended. But their legend was just beginning. After their execution, their house in Al-Labain district became a site for the curious. Legends spread that it was haunted by the victims' spirits. Many swore they heard moans and screams coming from underground at night. Their story inspired films, songs, and literary works, and they became a folk symbol of evil and greed. But beyond the legend, the story of Raya and Sakina remains a horrifying case study in human nature. How poverty and frustration can turn into absolute evil. How easily trust and vulnerability can be exploited. They were not supernatural monsters, but two ordinary women in an extraordinary place and time who chose darkness over light and built their dominion on the skulls of those who had no voice. An eternal cautionary tale about the latent evil that can grow if given fertile ground.